assaults upon him, Arjuna employed a mystic incantation to go at once to Samyamani, the city of heaven where Lord Yamaraj resides. And not seeing the Brahmana's child there, Arjuna went to the cities of Indra, Agni, Niriti, Soma, Vayu, and Varuna. With weapons at the ready, he searched through all the domains of the universe, from the bottom of the subterranean region to the roof of heaven. Finally, not having found the Brahmana's son anywhere, Arjuna decided to enter the sacred fire, having failed to keep his promise. But just as he was about to do so, Lord Krishna stopped him and spoke the following words. And there's a purport that says, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti comments that Arjuna trusted Lord Shiva implicitly as his guru, and so he did not bother to search out Lord Shiva's celestial abode. Right. So, I mean, it's interesting. The Brahmin before was, criticizing Krishna and, and Balaram and Pradyumna and Aniruddha. Now he's kind of comes back and says, if they can't protect him, then how can somebody else? And because Arjuna had kind of gotten his hopes up, and Arjuna had promised that he would give protection or he would, commit suicide. And the Kshatriyas, they're part of their motivation for being such great protectors, right, is their reputation and their own integrity. And so, we see in most other eras, people who are charged with protecting others may also consider their own welfare. They may make a business decision and not fight very hard or run away. And so here he's saying that that he's going to, if he has to give his life in the process, he's going to do that. And they mentioned even in the previous purport, how Krishna tells Arjuna in the Gita, as inducing him to fight there, right, that dishonor is worse than death for especially for Kshatriya, for honorable person. And so something really strange happens here. He comes, he protects the whole area with very powerful weapons. He's there ready to fight anybody, and give his life, but nobody shows up. And in the previous 9 times, I mean, this Brahmana was nothing except for persistence, right? They kept trying, and that the child would be born, and as soon as they laid him down, it would leave his body. And then he was coming to Ugrasena and leaving the body at his courtyard and criticizing him for not being able to protect him from this problem. And this time, something different happens. I guess it's a sign that things are coming to a head. The child just disappears. Poof. And there's nobody there. Nobody seems to break through the cage of arrows. There's nobody there for Arjuna to challenge. And the Brahmana starts, criticizing him, which is very hard for the Kshatriyas to bear. But Arjuna doesn't give up quite that easily, right? He says, well, he's got to go. He has to have gone someplace, right? And so he goes all over the universe that he can reach. So he goes down to I think it's Rasatala in the lower planetary systems. He goes to Yamaraj, which is the most logical one to start with, and then he's got his weapons. He's ready to fight with whoever's got him, whether it's devas or asuras. He's ready. That's what he's going to do. He's going to fulfill his promise. But he's not there. He's not there. He goes to Nritti, which is like a secondary god of death, and all these other places where the devas are residing, and you're ready to go. He's got his weapon, his bow at the ready to give him back. I've pledged protection, but nothing happens. And so it's the worst possible thing for a Kshatriya who's made a promise like that. He had previously done a similar thing when trying to avenge the killing of his son at the Battle of Kurukshetra. He was going to kill Jayadratha or commit suicide, But there he basically had to fight the whole Kaurava army, and he was ready to do that. And here, there's no one to fight. It's just gone. Child is just gone, so he can't fight anybody. But then he's about to to enter into the fire. So previously he actually mentions, the acharyas mentioned that when he was doing a little puja and setting up the protection, Arjuna was praying to Lord Shiva because of the doubts that the Brahman already had in Krishna and Balaram and the other Yadus, and so he was. Because he already had doubts in them, he was going to pray to Lord Shiva for do puja for him for the protection, and so now but now the Brahman's angry with him, and he's of course lamenting how foolish he could be to think that just an ordinary person, so Arjuna's he got the backing of Krishna, but a more ordinary person rather than Krishna or Balaram or something could save him, and so now Arjuna has no other recourse but to go into the fire, and this sets up the whole. There's going to be you can understand there's going to be something interesting happening after this, and you're going to find that out in the next classes. But it's setting up this drama now. Arjuna's life is in danger once again, and Krishna's appearing on the scene and going to hope to help. According to the acharyas, Krishna was the first person that Arjuna asked about where the child went, because he figures Krishna knows everything, and Krishna said, no, you have to go find him. He wasn't going to make it easy, because the drama is building here. This is the whole purpose of Leela, is that drama and adventure are the thing, and it builds it builds the trust in Krishna. It builds the devotion for Krishna. It builds the relationship. I mean, this is you can wonder why. You see the Pandavas' lives, were just one disaster after another. They were they were meant to rule this great king, rule the world, rule the kingdom of the earth, and they were qualified. Perfectly qualified. Yudhisthira, was, of course, even the way they were born was born of tragedy. The premature, the premature death of their father happened later, but their father was cursed, and so he couldn't father children or die, and so their fathers were the various devas, the Pandavas. They weren't actually they weren't directly the children of Pandu. And so Yudhishthira's father was Yamaraj, who knows Dharma perfectly. They tried that first. They said, if this is a good thing, right, if this is the right way to go about it, they were using the precedent that after Parashuram had and also it happened again with Vyasadeva, that when the Kshatriyas are either killed or not able to have children, you can call the Brahmins. And so after Parashuram killed all the Kshatriyas, Brahmins fathered children in the widows of the Kshatriyas. And then when all the heirs to the throne were killed, then also Vyasadeva came, and it was it was Pandu and Dhritarashtra and was it the other brother? Anyway, but so that they were trying to do a similar thing, right? They can call this. Kunti had this benediction that she could call any of the devas, and when she did that the first time, it was the sun god, and she didn't realize what calling them meant, and so kind of mystically she was suddenly with child. And so then they decided to do that. So immediately in the beginning, there was also this disaster of their father being cursed and then dying young when that curse actually took effect. So many times they lost all their relatives at Kurukshetra. The children were killed. So many reversals that have happened to them, and so you wonder, if you have great devotees, why you can have all this trial and turbulence and trouble. Why not just, Krishna controls everything. Why not have everything? just be peaceful, right? We all like to have just peace and happiness. Why not? Why do we have to have all this other sorrow? You know, so much, all these seemingly terrible things, and that's the when we're dealing with Leela, when we're dealing with especially when you go deep into the spiritual world, if you're kind of a person floating around on your airplane in Vaikuntha, it's fairly peaceful, not so tumultuous. But when you get into the more human and more personal forms of Krishna, then there's something else that's happening, right? There's a deep connection. So there's the two kind of aspects to Krishna and God. There's the his status as God, being all powerful and all knowing, being the source and controller of everything. This is the majestic one, Aishvarya, where you see the greatness of God. And so of course the greatness of God can make you feel very protected if you feel you're in his good graces, and you can feel very safe. The Lord is there and everything, and so the peace can happen. And then there's the Madhurya, because even Lord Vishnu, is personable. You see that there's the beautiful verses in the second canto describing the super soul, even, and how he's glancing very kindly at everyone. Right. So even Lord Vishnu, who the majestic part is more obvious, right, is still very sweet. So there's a personal connection. And it's the personal connection that causes for deep relationships and deep connections. Right. And with Krishna, it's the highest level. And so what's happening, you see, with Arjuna and with the other Pandavas, particularly Arjuna, here's a situation where now his life is in danger again. And he's, at every step, either Krishna has somehow saved them, right? And this is what the Queen Kunti, was praying to him, so that we only see you basically when we're in trouble, and then you show up. And she was lamenting the fact that he was leaving, and so she was praying, and while Krishna was leaving Hastinapur, her famous prayers, and she says, and she lists all the things that he protected them from, and she says, let them happen again. It's not because that's how we see you again. This was their lamentation when Narad Muni is looking for the greatest devotees in the Brihat Bhagavatamritam. That's their message, that why they don't have so much mercy. So Krishna only comes when we're in trouble. He stays in Dwarka. So she says, it's worth it to see you again. It's worth it for us to have troubles just if we can see you again. So there's this deep attachment. And then there's the feeling of protection and shelter that happens at those times. When things are going smoothly, you can have superficial relationships, right? But with Arjuna, there's so many different attempts on their life because of Duryodhan. All these things were happening, throughout their lifetime, and Krishna would step up and protect them, and then even when the Battle of Kurukshetra comes up, now it's a different kind of test. Arjuna isn't really that afraid of dying particularly, but he thinks this is a terrible disaster. And so then what Krishna does is he basically asks him to trust me. Right? When he says Sarva Dharmam Parityajya, because they were debating what the Shastras say in a situation like that. right? It's the dharmas of the kshatriyas to fight, but look who he's fighting, right? Arjuna says, look, I'm supposed to give flowers to to Bhishma and Drona. He says I shouldn't be shooting arrows at them, And then Krishna comes back with with the Atma Shastra, the science of the soul, you know. And but he says, don't worry about that. Don't worry about trying to understand it intellectually, because Arjuna was having a terrible time to do that. Krishna tells him, 3 verses before, do it, think about it carefully. I've given you all the secret information. Do what you want to do. And Arjuna just can't process it. So finally, Krishna says, look, you know, you know me, let me be your shelter. Sharanam, that word, the word that's in there that the Prabhupada translates as surrender. Prabhupada oftentimes, other times he quotes that verse and uses the word shelter there, because Sharanam has a real connotation of shelter. Take shelter and don't worry. He says, don't fear. If there's any defect in Dharma, I'm gonna take care of that. So you just trust me. It becomes a personal decision based on our personal connection. So this is freaking you out. You have doubts about whether it's right or not. You're not convinced, but if you just trust me that this is the right thing to do, right? It deepens the connection. There's a opportunity for the connection to go deeper. So it was one thing, right, to have Krishna rescue them so many times, and of course he did again during the battle. But here's a chance that, okay, you think this is wrong, and you can't intellectually process it, but you can trust me. You know who we are. We're friends. And so Arjuna, does the thing that terrifies him the most, right? The Kshatriyas don't fear death. Even Krishna says, that on the battlefield, that it opens the doors to the heavenly planets if you die honorably. So the Kshatriyas aren't even afraid of that. But what Arjuna was facing, having to kill his family and have all of his relatives be killed and all this kind of stuff, was just so disturbing to him that he was having this extreme, complete meltdown. His hair was standing on end. His mouth was drying up. His skin was burning. He was trembling. He was weak. He was dizzy and wanted to run away. The Kshatriyas don't feel that. So this was some very powerful circumstance. And so then when he even can't understand the theory behind it, finally he just says, okay, Krishna, I trust you. And then later on, when Krishna's gone and he gets defeated, trying to protect the queens, he realizes that everything he did was because of Krishna. He has that meditation. He actually, when he says when they stepped off the chariot after the battle of Kurukshetra, it just disintegrated because so many weapons had hit that, and Krishna had kind of kept it together. So he realized that all the heroic deeds he ever did, so much were connected with Krishna. So in all these different challenging circumstances and sorrowful circumstances, there was a way for his affection for Krishna and his trust in Krishna and his feeling of shelter in Krishna. It deepens that relationship. And in face of that, what's happening externally doesn't matter so much. This divine love and because Krishna is, that he is like I said, he's mind blowing. He's amazing. He's wonderful. He attracts your mind from everything, right? And so the only real value for someone who has a connection like that is to deepen the connection, and that's what's happening. It's not stagnant. It's not. It's in the spiritual world, especially when you're dealing with Krishna. It's not just, okay, we're going to be happy now. but it's the deep connection of love and shelter and all those things, the ever deepening thing that makes it alive and vibrant every day, every day, even though, say in Braj, many times there's a similar routine. There's the Astakali Alila, you know what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen. They're going to herd the cows, milk the cows, take the cows out to into Braj. They're going to come back. Various things happen on a routine basis, but each day the connection with Krishna deepens, and sometimes there's these, sometimes the demons are coming, sometimes things are happening to help to stimulate that. But just in general, when you see Krishna, so that every time, it says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, when Krishna when his devotees see Krishna, they become more beautiful, particularly Radharani. And when Krishna sees that, he becomes more beautiful. All right, so there's a dynamism there, where Krishna is becoming more wonderful. It's there in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and the Chaitanya Charitamrita, how Krishna is dynamic. He's already infinite. He's already more beautiful and charming and wonderful than anything else could be, but he's continually getting more so. And the love of his, and so the connection with his devotees is increasing. Their love is increasing. His attraction for that love is increasing. So it's a very dynamic situation. And so for us, when we just see the situation, we think, boy, this is, there's a lot of drama here for these poor people. They've got Krishna as their friend, Krishna as their protector, and they go through so much. They lose so much. Seems like their life is just one disaster after another. Why would that be? And what kind of life is that? But what we can't understand from our standpoint is that connection with Krishna. That when they're helpless and when there's danger, Krishna is their shelter. And he's already the one that they love. But then also he's their shelter. And he shows up at the right time. He does what's necessary. And so the love increases. So when you know Krishna, right? Our experience of Krishna is very limited. So we have a tendency to think that the external circumstances also matter. And it's okay, it's understandable. In many ways, we hope that Krishna will smooth out our lives. We hope that we can bring Krishna into our lives and he'll maybe make things a little smoother. And of course, he may do that. Right? So our connection may not be as deep yet. And our faith may be not as deep yet. Our ability to take shelter may not be as deep yet. But we can see in devotees like Arjuna and the Pandavas and all the others that the connection with Krishna ultimately is far, far beyond anything related to the comfort in our lives or the peace in our lives. Kunti says, bring more on so I can see you. Bring more troubles on, because then I'll get to see you again. You won't be there in Dwarka. That's her testimonial. I mean, she was, when her husband died, she wanted to enter into the fire and go with him. Right. But Madri, the co-wife, says, look, I can't live, I can't stay behind. And besides, I will not treat your children the same way as I treat mine. You'll do that. You're more noble. So I can't live without Pandu. And you will treat the children. So she stays behind. Lives in exile. All these things, suffers so much. Yeah, it's true. Sometimes we do that ourselves, right? When we feel safe. Chandra was saying we watch horror movies or we go to haunted houses, right? Because we feel safe. Now on a certain level, the devotees also will feel safe with Krishna, but also there'll be actual fear there. There'll be actual concern there. Arjuna was melting down in a big way. Ultimately, though, he finds his shelter there. And it allows for the relationship to deepen. When there's just everything is peaceful, the relationship doesn't evolve so fast. But when there's all this, when there's all these different adventures, and here's poor Arjuna, he couldn't even fight. There was nobody there. His reputation is ruined. He's a failure. And then something else is going to happen. Krishna's there again. you know Krishna you can always trust. So that connection is so it, yeah, it's so mind-blowing that nothing else matters. It just doesn't matter. you know Anything that happens that fosters that relationship is desirable. So for us, we can't imitate that, but this world gives us challenges, right here in this world. you know I mean, we have this desire one day to exist on this higher plane, but we have to come to the proper mood to go there. And this is what we have here. The material world is here with all of its challenges, right? At first, that may be a motivation to take up spiritual life. Oh, this is very difficult here, therefore let me try to not be so attached to it. But it says in bhakti, you're supposed to be not too attached or too averse to the world, because the world has its benefits. Right? We have our challenges here. We have the ups and downs here. We have the difficulties here. So this gives us the opportunity to trust Krishna more, to take more shelter of him, to build that connection with him. Now, while we're here, what do we do when troubles come? Can we may melt down like Arjuna, that's allowed. But then can we find some deeper shelter in Krishna? Can we trust him more? Can our appreciation and gratitude towards him grow? Can we see this as a chance that when we're left more helpless, that's when you need somebody and you need Krishna more. So how much can we begin to really feel sheltered by Krishna? And so then we're freaked out a little bit less. And then when we are freaked out by it, can we find that connection? Can we call out to Krishna? And we'll find that Krishna many times will do something for us. So it's a relation building situation. The idea that it's one thing, having perfect peace is not always a driver for building relationships. And so there's some reason why that this world is a good place, a testing ground for our relationship with the human-like pastimes of Krishna. So we don't just want to escape here, but we want to begin to orient ourselves in the proper way. And there's a chance to do that. We don't have the same kind of intense love and intense faith that's developed enough to exist properly in that spiritual realm. Right? But here we have a chance to grow that. And one of the biggest ways we can do that is by embracing the challenges that we have here to the best of our ability, and to see, can we increase the faith? Can we reflect on the times when Krishna has helped us? Can we be less concerned about, Prabhupada gives this, serious quote that we may not be able to fully embrace, but we can think of it as an aspiration. He says the devotees are not concerned about the future of their lives. So that's super advanced devotees, but that's because the connection with Krishna is all that matters to them. And it's because it's so wonderful. It's not because they're noble. It's not because they're so renounced. It's not because they have such great knowledge, but it's because Krishna is the all attractive. And he's stolen their hearts. And that connection makes anything else, it just doesn't, all the troubles and trials and tribulations just don't rate. It's so much more wonderful. All right, so I think we're out of time here. We should stop. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Giri Govardhan.
Cruel that our best friend, who's so much more powerful than us and so much more conscious than us, has to arrange calamities for us that we will feel very real and we will freak out for real. Isn't that cruel on Krishna's part to do that to us?
Yeah, he wants to have. I mean, he wants us to have a real relationship. He really wants to build it, and he wants it to be real, and that's why it. He doesn't really have anything else that he desires from us. He's fully self-sufficient. He creates universes out of the pores of our skin. So he wants to find ways, and he wants us to be able to incrementally, to take shelter, to surrender. He doesn't want to force us to do everything all at once. He's very patient with us and will work with us to really build an authentic relationship. And that's what Krishna is doing, little by little. Yeah, I see. There's Jaya had her hand up first, I think. Uh,
Hare Krishna, thank you so much
Hare
for
Krishna.
class. There's two things I was thinking about. I was just reading the prayers of Queen Kunti the other day,
Oh.
and I was really struck by she goes, "You saved us from this and that and that," and she realizes, and that's such a great mindset to understand that not you sent us the cannibals, you sent us the house of wax, it's you saved us from those things. So I think that that's always such a powerful thing to remember all the times that Krishna every day is saving us from things. And at the same time, I'm in the Prabhupada Amrita. I read it a little bit every time before bed. He's like in the battle for the Juhu temple right now, and thinking about all the challenges that Prabhupada doesn't give up. And like Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. So it's just I love that mindset of all the times that Krishna has saved us. And if in looking at that kind of faith, we're in their hot water. And then there's one more thing I'll say, and I'll shut up. My husband likes country music, and so since he does, I have to listen to it sometimes. And there's a song I don't know who, but they're talking about a romantic relationship. But the lyrics goes, "This world keeps spinning faster to a new disaster. So I run to you. I run to you."
Mm.
And I always think that's such a beautiful thing to think, Krishna. This world, material world, is always spinning faster to new disaster, and so we must run. We must run to Krishna again and again. So thank you so much
Oh,
for.
thank you so much. Yeah, there's a gospel song. Mahalia Jackson was famous for singing that. The main thrust is, "Oh Lord, don't move the mountain, just give me the strength to climb." I always like that. I see Min has her hand up.
Thank you so much for the class. Um, I wanted to ask a question about what you had mentioned at the beginning of the class, where when Arjuna asks Krishna, what, like, where can I go? What happened to the children of Brahman? Krishna says, I don't know, you have to go find out for yourself. So you brought up this sense of adventure there. Go find out for yourself. So I wanted to ask, this, if there's the connection that maybe I'm not seeing so clearly between the vision of adventure during stressful or hard times, and the deepening of our relationship or love for Krishna.
Well, of course, this is also giving Arjuna a chance to show how determined he was. Right? He went everywhere and was going to fight anybody. So instead of Krishna's going to show him eventually where it is, so it's okay. But at first he says, "Oh no, you go find him. You go find him." And so it gives Arjuna a chance to demonstrate his sincerity there, and go and try. He's ready to fight anybody. If Yamaraj has him, he's going to fight Yamaraj, give him back. He's ready. So it shows his dedication, and allows him to be fully invested in this adventure. And it can come alive, and it's in times like that, when in some ways we come alive more, I mean, I've even heard people who, maybe had PTSD from combat, but they mentioned that when they came back from their tour of duty, they felt they were struck by how superficial people's relationships seemed to be. Because on in battle, you and the people around you, if you're an infantry person in particular, or I guess but anywhere, you depend upon one another. And so the connection, a lot of times when people are do something heroic, it's not because they were patriotic or they wanted to win the battle, but they were trying to protect the people around them or tried to save the people around them, because it was a life or death connection all the time. So it's very deep connections. So when it's not peaceful, when it's a position of danger like that, you also naturally come more alive at that time. And so it leaves a deeper impression. You're not just walking around, peacefully, but it becomes more vibrant, and that adds to the ability for that to make a deeper impression and make the connection with Krishna stronger.
I like this notion of seeing our path of faith in terms of adventure. Is it possible for us
Yeah.
to feel that, or sort of
Yeah.
believe
I mean,
that?
at least in the background, we have to be able to, sometimes we're not going to be, I mean, Arjuna wasn't thinking it was very adventuresome on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, but we can have that in the back of our mind, that if, do we trust Krishna here? Is Krishna there? Is Krishna inclined towards us? Is he kind and merciful? Does he love us? And is this simply ultimately a relationship building exercise? We can have that mindset. We might not always be able to maintain it when something happens, right? But we can have that in the back of our minds, sometimes in the front. But yeah, that should be the understanding that in some sense, this is the practice lila right now, because things don't happen randomly. Things don't happen randomly here, and so this is kind of the warm up, the practice lila here on Earth. And so how do we take more shelter of Krishna? How do we deepen the faith? It has to be somewhat organic, but I mean, this is the thing. We can sometimes we may gracefully deal with something because we feel protected by Krishna. This will be okay, and sometimes not, and so that's because probably we were being stretched a little bit further. And then in retrospect, we can try to find that, but that's really what's happening. If we are declaring an interest in a relationship with Krishna, then we're saying, I'm letting you into my life. I really think that's part of there's the Shikshastakam where it says you become more tolerant than a tree, where we give Krishna more leeway to cause trouble and consternation and disruption, in order to reveal deeper our fears and attachments, that we may be able to try to eventually present them to Krishna as no longer necessary.
What you
So
just said is so interesting, giving Krishna lead ways to bring us.
I mean, he's kind with us, and he knows that faith has to be built, and so most of us will find that Krishna brings something to the table, and find reasons to have faith in him. He doesn't pull an Arjuna on us usually right away and just totally destroy our world. It says that sometimes when he does that, it's because somebody has a really powerful urge to have a closer connection, but has certain obstacles. And so that the devotion is already there. There's just certain obstacles. And then Krishna does something kind of more drastic. But for us, he's not usually going to do something more drastic, especially if we're new, unless we have some serious background in bhakti. He takes it a little bit slow. But then as our faith goes, we say, okay, Krishna, let's dig deeper into my fears. Let's dig deeper into my attachments and aversions. Because everybody's happy when everything's going well, and all the things underneath the surface, you can't notice them. You're such a nice person, and then something happens and it comes out. So Prabhupada used that example even with relationships with devotees. He used that example of a when you have a tumbler, when you have like semi-precious stones, and they polish each other by banging together, and so it's like usually our troubles with others, are our false egos banging into other people's false egos, and then by reacting more and more appropriately to those collisions, the egos can be a little bit polished.
Mm.
So the difficulties we have here, have this great potential for growth. They're not just like what we want to avoid them, and so we can all be forgiven for wanting to have things just be peaceful. I understand that because things have not been, and we haven't seen meaning for that. But there is this how the Leela works, that it gives us opportunity to see deeper into ourselves when things are happening that we don't want, and it gives us a chance to to strengthen whatever faith and the shelter we have in Krishna currently. So I really think we can look at this as kind of like the little training wheel Leela.
Thank you so much.
Nityananda Chandra. Oh, darshan time. Darshan time, dear devotees. Thank you, Giri Govardhan Prabhu. Wonderful class. Mind blowing. Heart blowing. Let's turn on our cameras if we can.
Think about spiritual master and the way by which we came to the bound to speak great honor. May His grace ocean of the tears and attain the mercy. I only wish to have more consciousness. Passion to flow speak. Action. He opens my darkened eyes, fills my heart. He is my Lord, birth after With ecstatic preeminence, like ignorance of the spirit. The Vedic scriptures care. The ocean of mercy. Better the poor, the master. Oh, master, shame. Oh, the free world. We take shelter at your lotus feet.
Jai Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Jai Nitai Prabhu, for facilitating the darshan today. Hare Krishna, welcome to the Afterglow. I've always thought of my life as a walk in the park, but things didn't add up. And I was like, why is this calamity in my life? Why is this in my life? Why is that in my life? And then I realized, after Nityananda Chandra Prabhu put his comment in the chat, that my life is a horror movie. Right? I'm here, I chose it. I purchased the ticket, I walked into the dark room, sat down, and here are my nightmares. And now I understand why Bhima...
What are you talking about?
I'm glad.
What are you talking about? You have a beautiful wife. You have a beautiful son. You have a beautiful daughter. You have a beautiful way to make a living that allows you to speak to 40 people every single night and give them the Bhagavad Gita and Prasadam. You are in Vaikuntha, Prabhu. Wake up. Jeev Jago, Jeev Jago.
Thank you. Nityananda Chandra Prabhu, Giri Govardhan Prabhu, how do you explain that? How do you explain all these blessings?
Krishna is nothing but love. So blessings are not that difficult. It's just our openness to them, actually. Krishna is his whole existence, his reason for existence is love. He's got everything, right? So from our point of view, we have a tendency to project on Krishna that he has needs, right? Because in this dimension, we have needs, we're empty, right? And oftentimes then the spirituality means moving towards, just peace and bliss. But Krishna, he has that intrinsically, right? Atmarama is there intrinsically, but he wants love, right? And so when he comes to us, he says, it's not he wants something from us. It's that this is a chance for him to expand his love. And so the blessings are easy. But the blessings are easy. Krishna wants to give us. Right? We don't want to receive it. We think either, I'm not worthy of it, I have to be something, or that I'm better than that, I need to earn it. I want to be able to claim it. We don't want to give Krishna the credit, naturally, because we've built up the ego for so long. But Krishna's blessings, he's ready to give us everything if we'll take it. He's ready to give himself to us if we'll take it.
Thank you, Giri Govardhan Prabhu. It's very clear that Krishna is sending his blessings. Whether he's taking things from us or giving us some chills or giving us some, straight up blessings, it's always a gift.
When people first come to Krishna consciousness, they have, this is well documented, right? That oftentimes they have a very powerful experience right off the bat. And what's happening there is they've showed some little bit of interest. They've opened this because there's some wonder there generally. Where's the holy name? Here's the deities. Here's this. This is really wonderful. And they open their defenses just a little bit. And Krishna comes running in the door. Finally. And I'm here. And then what happens, right, oftentimes, right, is that experience kind of contracts. And what's happening is we start to take credit. Now I'm chanting, now I'm doing this, and therefore I'm having this experience. We want to take credit. The ego wants to be the controller, wants to take credit, wants to be the doer. And so we no longer give Krishna that same freedom. And then we think, oh, now we have to earn it. But Krishna was right there. We just have to stop taking credit. And Krishna comes right in back in the door.
Thank you. This is an open mic, dear devotees. Please unmute yourself. Giri Govardhan Prabhu, thank you so much for going over time with us.
No, it's always a pleasure to be here.
I had a question, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for class. It's always a pleasure to listen to your classes and learn and feel our hearts expand as well. My question was, so other than, the obvious answer I'll preempt is sensitively, but if someone else is in our life, even a devotee who is going through some external difficulties, and that we may be excited about because we are seeing them, and maybe it's presumptuous to see them, but it just feels like Krishna taking a hand in their life, but maybe they're not seeing it that way, or maybe they don't want to talk about it that way. Beyond sensitivity, do you have any advice for what to do? Should just kind of back off, or how would you broach this? How would you broach the conversation?
Like if they're going through some kind of difficulty, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
You're really sorry. You're really sorry that's happening to them. Is there anything you can do?
Yeah.
Because everybody knows, right, that in the back of their mind that they should take shelter of Krishna and all this kind of stuff, and the material world is temporary. But you may not be able to see that right now, and so the best way they might be able to feel Krishna's love and Krishna's presence is through you, saying, "Really sorry you're doing this," and then when they feel supported, then it's easier for them to work through the trauma of the immediate moment. And eventually come back to Krishna that way. The worst thing we can do is say, "Oh, that's just, this is just the material world. You shouldn't be feeling this, And then they feel shame, then they feel this, but you say, tell me about it. What's happening with you? What do you feel? Is there something I can do? You let them talk about it, because sometimes talking helps you to process stuff. So listen to them, be kind to them. Say, "I'm really sorry that you're going through all this."
Hare Krishna, thank you very much. That's helpful.
Giri Govardhan, what is the importance of counting our blessings? Like making a sort of like we have so many not regulations, but we have our disciplines and we have our sadhana that is done on a regular basis. It's consistent, deliberate. What about counting blessings? Taking account every morning as an offering to Krishna. Look at all this you have given to me, and please allow me to start giving back. What about that type of
Yeah, it's beautiful,
practice?
right? Because some we tend to focus on the negatives, right? And so if we want to strengthen our faith, we can see all the things that are wonderful that are already given, and then with gratitude, then we'll want to give something back. We'll want to give something back. Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
I heard what we count increases. So if we're always counting our finances, like Prabhupada was very diligent, then you actually increase your money when you're very very diligent in keeping track of it. You count the bad qualities in others, then it increases in yourself. You count the good qualities in others, and it increases in yourself. And then you count
Yeah.
your blessings, and your blessings increase.
Yeah. Your attention creates your world. What you pay attention to creates your world. Yeah, it's true.
My Guru Dave often says that what we appreciate then appreciates in us. You know, we talk about
Yeah, that's a
like
use.
money and stuff
Yeah.
appreciates, you know, gets bigger. So in that way, yeah.
Yeah, that's what
So,
Nityananda
so,
Chandra
so
Prabhu was saying.
what you're saying is that we truly are in control. I knew I was always in control. So I actually make the decisions of how my world will turn out, right? So you're saying I'm in control.
No, the idea for us really, like in bhakti, I mean, we want to be the controllers, right? We'd like to be able to say that I've done this and I've done all this sadhana and therefore I've earned the result. We all want to do that. That's the ego speaking. What we can do though is try to create an environment for it to work. Like the example given is the seed of bhakti planted in the heart that grows, and it's the plant that produces the fruits of prema, not us. But we're supposed to, you water it a little bit, pull out some of the weeds, kind of try to protect it. You try to grow it, But we want to take credit for the plant, you know. But we can't. I mean, like there's the example in Krishna Lila where the gopis, where Krishna grows pearls, he plants pearls and he grows pearls, and the gopis think that oh, that guy is so arrogant, we're gonna outdo him. And so they borrow all their pearls, and they say, "We're going to take better care of our pearls. Our pearls are going to be better." And sticker plants grow up, so their care is even better than Krishna's care, but the result was not very good because it's the plant that matters. And so for us, we can try to create an environment that's more, that's more favorable for the plant to grow, and that's all we can do. There's not much control. We don't get the credit. Is we will try to maximize that, but it's infinitesimal, our contribution.
Could you extend that metaphor that the plant will blossom, the plant will fruit, and the plant will blast in its due time? That we also not only enthusiastically have to change our world to allow us to bring in more facility, the priority of facility in which our creeper, and of course the encouragement for other creepers to grow, um, but also that we have to be patient over a long period of time to allow its natural maturing.
Well, we do have to be. It's worth waiting for. It's something that's worth waiting for because it has such great value. This is like in the nectar of instruction, right? It's there's those three things, confidence, patience and enthusiasm. And patience and enthusiasm, are usually kind of antithetical. Usually, you're patient for something, that you don't think you can get right away, and you're enthusiastic when you think you're about to get something. But Prabhupada says that we have confidence that Krishna consciousness is the most wonderful thing that a human being can attain. So therefore, because it's so valuable, right, you can have patience, and you can have also enthusiasm because he says Krishna will help you. So it's something that can be accomplished. So when something can be accomplished, you get enthusiasm. When something is valuable, it's worth waiting for, and so you do that. A lot of what's happening though is we're resisting by wanting to take the credit for it. This is a huge thing for us. Krishna's love is there. It's on from his side. The relationship is broken from our side, and Krishna is working to repair it. But then we want to take over and claim credit. We don't want to just be mercy cases. We want to be able to do something. And this actually blacks people from the previous yugas. They can chant the holy name, but they bring something to the table. Meditate for thousands of years, or do these powerful sacrifices, or amazingly elaborate deity worship. And here in Kali, we don't bring anything to the table, but we want to think that we do. And so if we simply have, what we have to do is you count the blessings, or you feel, you know, you feel Krishna's love. You can feel that if we'll let it, and you'll see how he's acting. And then you just open and let it come in more. Instead of like trying to say, my sadhana is causing this to happen. Nonsense. The sadhana gives you a chance to connect with Krishna, but Krishna's doing it. It's the plant is growing. You're just doing a little bit. You're contributing a little bit as the gardener. That's it. And as soon as you think, I'm doing it, then it slows down. As soon as we think, oh, I'm not good enough, for I have to improve myself first, then it slows down. So humility means, that we have some faith in Krishna, and then we let him work in our lives, and we get away from the blame and taking credit. It really is. It's Prabhupada's, I think he was quoted saying, right, that bhakti is simple for the simple and complicated for the complicated, and we tend to complicate the whole thing so much more than needs to be done.
Thank you very much, Giri Govardhan Prabhu. Would anyone else like to speak? No, thank you very much. We would like to request Stephanie to recite the Maha Mantra to complete the offering today.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you for class. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna, everybody. We love you. We need you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Giri Govardhan Prabhu ki jai. Everybody on this call ki jai to you. Hare Krishna.
You going on vacation again?
I told you I owe her one.
You doing it, dude?
Yeah.
Good for you. Good for you. Like a princess.
Yes.
She'll treat you like a king. Hare
Yeah,
Krishna.
Bima is doing some family coaching for me. For my whole family. Okay, Hare Krishna.
There's the